Hello, welcome back to What's the Force of Stars podcast. My name is Phill, of course. I'm joined as usual by Dave. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, my friend. Good evening, my friend.
It's such a brand new bit of content we have. Of course, this is we have started our new list videos, but also another bit. We're now going to be looking at Resistance. We're doing Mandalorian. We're doing the Clone Wars. The other bits and pieces. But of course, this is the first of those new shows.
Yeah, so it's going to be really good because we used to kind of cram it into our regular show, which sometimes made them hard because you want to talk about lots of things in the episode, but you got bogged down and it then made your usual episode like hour and a half, close to 2 hours. So what we decided is from now on, the show, we'll take it separately and we'll do its own separate show about it, which I think will be much better to give us time to break down an episode properly and have a really good look through it. I'm really excited to do this with our first one for Resistance as well.
Indeed, well, for me, it gives us a chance to not only kind of expand the content, but also makes our, as you say, our regular shows a bit more easy to manage. Everyone loves a good chat, everyone loves listening, but after about an hour, it can start to drag on a little bit. Mainly because of our own English accents. But no, it's also nice to, as you said, to kind of have it on its own, have a full in-depth chat. We don't have George chiming in going, well, I haven't seen it, so I offer nothing but just contented grumbling. So yes, this is our place to talk about Resistance. We will have the Mandalorian coming up in November. Somehow, some form, we won't tell you how, so we can't get in trouble for it. Of course, we have the Clone Wars coming up next year. We'll have, of course, a proper in-depth look at The Rise of Skywalker. But for now, welcome to the very first episode in our breakdown of Star Wars Resistance Season 2. So this is, of course, Episode 1, Into the Unknown. I'll try and break it down for you in as short and concise manner as possible, whilst maintaining a lot of the key plot points. Episode opens up on Castellon, with, of course, nothing being there. Several ships still kind of flying around, a couple of racing rigs kind of in the ocean. Then you kind of have the TIE fighters flying into space, and you find the Resurgent class Star Destroyer in orbit. Captain Phasma is kind of a bit peeved. Here you go, see talking to Commander Pyre and Agent Tyranny via hologram. Now, for those of you who are not watching, who are listening back live, we will have pictures on our screen here, so I'll do the best to describe them as per usual. Something, Dave, you brought up earlier. I'll let you kind of talk about who's now replacing Gwendolyn Christie.
Yeah, so it came to our attention, to be honest, not too long before we went on air, but I was just on Twitter, as you do, looking for what's happening in the world of Star Wars before we come online, in case anything kind of did break. Although this is literally about Resistance, you never know when it's going to change. But yeah, it came across that Gwendolyn Christie is no longer the voice of Captain Phasma now. It's going to be a lady called Ellen Dubin. I believe that's how it would be pronounced, Ellen Dubin. She's actually previously voiced Phasma for the Lego Star Wars The Resistance Rises short. So she has played the character before. She's now replaced Gwendolyn Christie full-time for the season. How often we hear from Phasma, we don't know. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as we get into the timeline of this episode. But yeah, so she has been replaced. I'm guessing once The Last Jedi finished with Phasma, that was her contract done. So she probably wouldn't have voiced anything after that. She has no contract obligation to stay and do this season of this series. So yeah, she's been replaced by Ellen Dubin.
Indeed. So when you watch the episode, this will throw you, if you're used to hearing Gwendolyn Christie's lovely voice coming out of your speakers or headphones. But anyway, continuing further on, Phasma was displeased because she regards the refueling station as a valuable resource to General Leia Organa, and she was Commander Pyre to not let the station fall into the grasp of the Resistance. Tyranny is confident that they will succeed, and Phasma orders them to recover the station or destroy it. Shortly after, a stormtrooper ushers Tamara onto the bridge. Commander Pyre welcomes her aboard, so they're looking forward to hearing more about her friends. And Tam gasps for kind of regaining her composure a little bit. Cut to the Colossus. Inside the hangar bay, B2, Bucket and hangar bay B2, Bucket and CB23 stare into lightspeed as the Colossus exits hyperspace. Kaz asks Niku how far he thinks he got them. How close he got them to Dakar. Niku admits he has no idea, but hopes they're relatively close, considering that he didn't really have much time to kind of put the navigation points in. It was a case of point, click, and go. Kaz decides to check in with Captain Dozer to see if he has a better idea where they are. They walk past the Fragosian opiate in the corner. You walk past a lot of bits, and you see kind of everyone's a little bit kind of shaken up, but they're all kind of happy. Despite taking the hit from the Star Destroyer, Niku replies that he says the repairs will be extensive and they cannot afford to be attacked again upon the main system until the main systems are operational. Kaz hopes the First Order doesn't know where they are, and he says, yeah, I kind of like his optimism there. The two enter Captain Dozer's office. Dozer tells Yeager over the intercom he needs him to complete a full diagnostic scan of the platform. Yeager responds this will take some time, although surprisingly it doesn't if you watch the episode.
Doesn't take any time at all, yeah.
Hey,
it's going to take ages to get this done, by the way. Next few seconds.
Ages being 30
I know
seconds
exactly what's
time.
wrong.
Yeah. Dozer responds that he himself is responsible for bringing the First Order into this platform after Kaz offers himself by saying, it's his fault for bringing the trouble here. Dozer reassures Kaz that he took the right choice, and as the only choice in times like these is the tough choice to make, and he made the correct one. He tells Kaz and Niku he lived through the Imperial era and had hoped Kaz and his daughter Tora would never have to live through a time like that again. Dozer summarizes the galaxy doesn't learn enough from its mistakes, and then leads them up to the old command deck he's opened up. Yeager delivers his damage report and tells Captain Dozer that they have malfunctions across the board, including defensive cannons, deflector shields, and sublight engines. A repaired 4D M1N tells them that the hyperdrive is also out of coaxium fuel, and has prevented them from making another jump. Excuse me there. Tora then says she's amazed that they made the jump at all with a ship this old. When Dozer asks about the position, she replies they're 3 parsecs from Dakar, which Nico is quite happy about, considering, again, he didn't have much time to do that. Kaz adds there is definitely a resistance base hidden on the planet. Yeager asks him how certain he is about the location of the resistance base. Kaz is very certain because he heard it from General Organa herself. Yeager tells the droid to send transmission to Dakar, however, discovered the long-range communications are not operational. Niku tries to strike a positive note by saying the First Order doesn't know where they are, but Captain Dozer says it was only going to be a matter of time. They then unfortunately have a little problem with the gravity as it seems to fail. Causes to float in zero gravity. Do love this image. While 4D clings on to CB23. Dora is surprised it hasn't been in zero gravity before, and he says that the engines and shields should probably take priority in getting these fixed. Kaz volunteers and Yeager accepts his help, to check transmission relay on the engineering deck. Tora volunteers to help, and Dozer allows her to go. Whilst running through the corridor, Tora asks Kaz if he knows anything about fixing gravity generators and transmitter relays. Kaz claims he knows how to do it because they had just bigger versions of machines he, Niku, and Tam and Yeager used to work on. The next part, so they go right down. They found out the I can never pronounce these correctly, so kind of excuse my butcher pronunciation of the Chiladi. However you pronounce
We'll go with that. The big turtle creatures, yeah.
Yep. The Chiladi have retreated into their shells, which means they're afraid of something. Kaz responds they need to get the gravity back on to check the relays. As they float deep in the engineering deck, the First Order BB unit MB-13A watches them messing through a ventilation shaft. His visual processor is cracked but still operational. Inside the Colossus hyperdrive room, Kaz and his team struggle with controls for the relays. Kaz wishes that Tam was here. Niku joins in, says he wishes that he was as well, considering that Tam is much better than Kaz. Kaz says Niku to ask the Shell folks to help. Much prefer that name. Niku speaks to Phill and reassures him that danger is finally past. However, speaking the Chilade language, Phill tells him that they should leave because they're still dangerous down there. Kaz thinks they are still shell-shocked by the recent battle in a very poorly placed joke. However, they remind us that they need to fix the gravity generator. She says the long-range transmitter is attached to the power bus relay in the function room down the maintenance channel. Kaz tells Tora that they could take care of the gravity generator. He sends CB-23 into the shaft to fix the long-range transmitter. Niku asks for further around zero gravity. CB-23 then heads down the corridor. However, they notice it's taking a little bit of time after MB-13A ambushes her from behind and has been stalking her. The repairs taking a little bit longer. Everything's getting complicated while fixing the gravity generator. Kaz complains the Warren's a jumbled mess, and Tora has to remind that everyone's counting on him. Kaz thinks that everyone upstairs must be having a miserable time with the gravity off. However, cut to Auntie's where everyone is literally having an absolute ball. And it does look quite fun for trying zero gravity, trying to not get your drink float away. Niku notices that CB-23 is taking an awful long time to get the transmitter working. Kaz manages to repair the gravity generator, causing several People's dropped to the floor, but he's overdone it, so he has to kind of fix it again, and it kind of is going backwards and forwards. Tora points out they're not getting power to the induction coil. Kaz grumbles that it should be working, asks Tam to hand him a fusion spanner. Tora reminds him that her name is Tora. Kaz apologizes. Of course, Tora understands it's hard to lose a friend. Cut back to the First Order aboard the Resurgent class Star Destroyer. Tam tells Agent Tyranny that she told her everything, as kind of pleading her case as to why she should be accepted into the First Order. Tyranny asks Tam how she feels about the Resistance, and Tam responds by saying the Resistance is full of outlaws and lies like the people she thought who are friends. And when Tyranny asks about the First Order, Tam thinks they're trying to make the galaxy safe again, of course, being under complete disillusion with them. Tyranny asks about her motives for joining the First Order, and she wants to be an excellent pilot and wants to use those skills in service of a cause she actually believes in. So Tyranny then brings forward Captain Pyre and sends her away to get her to respond to the quartermaster to get her new uniform, addressing her as Cadet Pilot DT 533. Tam walks into a turbolist while Tyranny smiles at Commander Pyre, and we cut back to the Colossus. Back in the hyperdrive room, Kaz is strung by electric shock. He wonders what is taking CB23 so long. Niku volunteers to go and check on CB23. Kaz tells Niku to tell him to hurry up. And he travels down the corridor and actually then discovers that CB23 has been decapitated, which is quite a sad sight for a little BB unit to have his head floating in one port and have this just giant ball in front of you. And then, of course, he himself then gets ambushed by MB-13A. Draws what's going on, and Kaz thinks that Niku's trying to fix more than he told him to, so then he then goes down to investigate. Well, she takes Kaz down there to try and find out what the hell's going on. Tora thinks that Niku's playing games, then just a droid drops behind them, thinking it's CB23. Tora asks where she's been, only for her and Kaz to be discover that it is the First Order droid MB-13A, which he had encountered before, and they thought they had taken out. From this point on, it's basically just cutting between... I do love that scene between CB23 and MB-13A. Basically, to this point, you find... Commander, you find that... 4D-M1N has reported to Captain Doze that the long-range transmitter has been restored. However, the artificial gravity, deflector shields, and propulsion systems are still malfunctioning. Again, wondering what's taking them so long. Back in the tunnel, Kaz is surprised that MB-13A surprised their last encounter. Tora responds that the First Order makes them tough. Kaz then gets shocks and fires a grappling hook. Literally flies away. It's kind of like Batman versus... some random jank at this particular point. Is actually quite hilarious to watch. Kaz leads MB-13A on a chase to that corridor, but as executed to the prod, Tora pulls him out and allows MB-13A to try and send a signal out. At this particular point, everyone kind of bundles together. Kaz opens up the airlock, sucks out MB-13A. He gets grappled, nearly gets pulled out himself, but luckily Tora's able to shut off the door itself, so cutting the cable. MB-13A is then just propelled into space. They manage to seal the trapdoor and get the message cut off as well, so that it can't get out. However, though, Kaz then kind of has a moment of weakness and kind of tries to justify to everyone that he can send a message to Tam and try and explain to her what's going on and apologize. And it'd have to be in a very secure format, and it'd have to be done via their own private communicators, which again is still at risk. He ignores kind of the pleas of, try not to, and sends a message anyway, which would then cut to Tam on the First Order Star Destroyer. As she then kind of puts her old clothes down the bunk and puts the helmet in the closet, she finds that there's a new finds the communicator, listens to the message, just turns off immediately, and puts on her helmet. And then that is the end of the show. Now, as we were talking earlier about the last shot, and it will come to that later. But Dave, thoughts of the episode as a whole?
Overly, I was quite critical of the first series. At points, I was not in with it at all. I loved the Poor Dameron episodes, but outside of that, I didn't get a lot of enjoyment from it. This was an excellent start for this series. I really, really enjoyed it. I've seen it probably about 3 times since it's aired. Well, aired in the US. We're watching it here. It's not going to actually air in the UK until November the 7th at 7:30, I believe. So it's got another month before it'll actually air in the UK here. Obviously, we are watching by the main, so we can actually come on and talk about it. But yeah, if you weren't watching in the UK, waiting for Resistance, November 7th is the day you'll start to see it in the UK. So we'll be a couple episodes deep by then. So really, we should have warned people in the UK spoilers ahead, because we're going to spoil everything about these. But yeah, so I really enjoyed the overall feel of the episode. It was there was nice strokes of comedy in there, but I loved they had this feel of Alien about the whole thing with the droid, which, to be honest, I did think was BB-9A when I saw it, because again, not much attention paid to numbers when I was previously watching the last series. But yeah, I really loved this opening.
I loved it as well. I thought it was a very good opening, very strong opening. Yeah, being MB-13A makes sense, because BB-9E has to be on the Star Destroyer for Finn and Rose to come across. And of course, there's always more than one droid. Droids all look alike. I know we're racist, but hey-ho, they are just droids at this point in time. They haven't taken over yet. But when they do, I'm sure I'll be dead along with everyone else, so who cares? Next point of it, yes, very good opening. I thought it does, for me, actually flows very well from the previous episode. Yes, well, so I'm going to talk at this point now. So David just put up on the screen the picture of Phasma as a hologram talking to Pyre and Tyranny. This is a very interesting point. I was talking to Dave before we came on air, and I actually now recoil my previous statements to him by saying that I was wondering where it's going to be pinpointed, because Phasma is a hologram at this point. I forgot that she was a hologram. Indeed, because we had to kind of figure out where exactly this is placed in the timeline. Episode 7, episode 8 are set literally one after the other, and the Resistance is based interlinking throughout these. So the last episodes of season 1, we're looking at the destruction of Hosnian Prime, looking at the First Order attack on the Republic. Phasma has to be on Starkiller base for Finn to shut down the shield. So I was wondering where exactly this would take place. So this is going to be just before the attack on the base, I think.
I would have thought we're literally on the borders of Starkiller base being attacked at the beginning of at the end of this episode. So I think Phasma's already there on Starkiller base, and that's going to be probably brought up in the next few episodes. What's happened in the wider world of in the First Order? I think we will hear about it being destroyed. So I think that is coming.
Indeed. Also, what we have what happens with Kylo Ren, what happens with Hux, what happens with... There's a lot of... It is very interesting to see where it's pinpointed, because we actually had the timeline released earlier this year on our main show a couple episodes back. We talk about this, where the Resistance is placed in the timeline with everything else. And of course, you have episode 1, then you have episode 2, you have the Clone Wars, you have episode 3, then you have Solo, you have Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, 7, Resistance, and 8. And it's that really weird timing how they literally have it spliced in between all 3. Now, of course, we'll have Kenobi put in there as well. We'll have the Cassian Andor show. We'll have the Mandalorian. There's bits and pieces everywhere. And I'm not going to get into all that at the moment, but yes, finding out where they're going to be at specific points in time is going to be very interesting in the next few episodes. But I do like the interaction between Phasma, Tyranny, and Pyre, and seeing where the First Order goes from there would be quite cool.
Also, the way they're playing Tam as well, I think it's done so well that she believes in what they're doing, because she's seen the side of it. She has seen them as protectors, as trying to keep peace and law.
She sees the side she wants to see.
Yeah.
She sees the side that they are trying to portray, which is this protector. This is the order that they are. It was a whole thing in the speech from Starkiller Base that Hux gives about the government being, acquiescing to chaos and disorder, whereas the First Order are there to bring structure and order back to the galaxy, as the Empire once did. And Tam, who did not live through the Imperial era, did not live under their oppression, sees them as this bright, shiny force that can bring structure and can bring safety to the galaxy. Because being in the Outer Rim, of course, you do get pirates, and that's what she's lived through. Her experience has been pirates and bandits and everything else, and she hasn't actually experienced the tyranny that the First Order will bring.
I think it was also nice in that opening as well. We got to see how bad the Colossus was really suffering as well, from being such one and old ship, and for doing probably a hyperdrive jump that it should never have done. It looks broken when it comes out of hyperspace. It's sparking everywhere, and you see all the systems that could be broken are broken. It's not in a good shape. So knowing what we know going forward, that the First Order are this like tiny bit away from learning how to track hyperdrive from hyperspace travel, it's just not good for them either to not have this. And they've got no coaxium left. I love coaxium as a callback. Now it's in the universe. Was a lovely little thing as well. But yeah, it's the ship's in bad shape, and I did love seeing them, the anti-gravity stuff. I loved seeing Kaz is of just a klutz of the highest order falling downstairs, and he's never been in zero G before as well, which I found really funny that he's not experienced some of this in space. So I really enjoyed a lot of that.
Of course, he's being brought up in the Republic and being brought up in the Republic Navy. He's only ever experienced working ships and things of good order.
Yeah, absolutely. And for him to find his, I mean, he played the comedy part really well in what was quite not a dark episode, but it was.
No, it's a serious episode, though. It's not dark, but
yeah,
it's serious.
It was very much.
It's very much. We've come out of hyperspace. We don't know where we are. We don't know what we've got left. We don't know what's damaged. We don't know if the First Order know where we are, what's going on. It's not quite panic, but it's that sense of just what do we do? And it's that very much we know where we want to get to. We're not sure how we're going to get there yet.
Yeah,
and it's that they're in that very brief window of just no one's quite thinking straight. Everyone's trying to kind of maintain calm, which is why everyone's in the pub. It's just
I love that as well. The bar scenes were some favorite ones in this as well. Again, this is playing the lighter side for them, just floating around.
It breaks up the seriousness quite nicely. Kind of gives you little interludes here and there between the darker punchlines of "we are in trouble." It's how a laughter just floats around. It's how laughter
chasing drinks around. The old guy who was trying to get his drink back, just chasing around. Obviously, the anti-gravity going up and down, and just being devastated when their drinks were getting spilled, but having the best time they seem to be having.
No one had the thought just to go, right, here's my drink. I put my hand right on top of it. No one's having my drink but me. What you see? I will have my drink. It is mine. I have paid for this. Artsy's loving it, going, here's a zero gravity special. Of course, making a mint on the bad luck. It's a bad situation, which is what this show needs. It needs these little interludes because, as we know, this is aimed at a younger audience, but it still needs to get those serious plot points across. And as we well know from season 1, the more it went on, the darker it got. And I think that's just going to continue. But they needed to. This is a very good establishing episode, is what it is. It's kind of it needed to do that. It needed to set up. It needs to pick up where they left off from season 1, set up for season 2, but give you a good grounding point. And I think for me, Tam is the most interesting point of this episode so far.
Oh, without a single doubt, Tam is going to be the character because, yes, she was a big character in the first season, but she didn't have much about her, if you know what I mean. She was kind of normally in the setup of episodes. She'd be there fixing a ship, and then it would be off on Kaz's adventure with BB-8, and she'd be kind of left, and she'd still be fixing that ship when he got back. So she didn't have this big turning point and arc until really the last episode of the series 1, where she found out he was a spy. That basically took that her friends had lied to her, weren't the people they said they were, and made the jump to the First Order a really easy decision for her because she could see what they were trying to do over these people. She now, like she says in the episode, they're just liars. They're not my friends anymore.
Although, as I was saying to you earlier, the interesting point I found is when she receives the message, she basically puts her clothes down on the on her bunk. She's now fully decked out in First Order pilot uniform. And before she goes to open the closet, she hears her transmitter goes off. And she picks up and listens to the opening words that Kaz has to say. So, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to lie. She, because he's beginning his speech of how he wants to apologize and kind of hopefully persuade her back and kind of at least kind of plead his case. And what I find interesting, she just switches it off. Ignores it, throws it back on the bed and goes, put her helmet on. She, at this point, believing wholeheartedly she is doing the right thing. Now, my point to you earlier was, if she was really that committed, she would just hand it and going, I've received this message, can we trace it?
You would, it seems like that would have been the easy play, to give it to them and go, right, this has come through for me, but this will lead you right to the Colossus. You don't need anything else, all done. And whether she will, in the coming episodes, give them the information, which I think, to be honest, she might. The way she's playing at the moment, she's very dead set First Order, and I think she will help them find.
Might, but she may get why didn't you bring this to us
earlier? Yeah, first attention. I think she might even hand it in. It might get found by someone else who'll then go, can you explain this? And then they'll find it via that. I think that may be the way we'll go down. I don't know. We don't know what's coming.
At that point, you can then lead her to a whole reality check of, have I done the right thing or have I made a grave mistake? It really does lead open to the plot point of her coming back. So it is kind of this, we'll keep an eye on this going forward. But yes, the episode on a whole, though, I think it's very interesting to see where they've ended up and where they're going forward. The Colossus is in a state of complete disrepair. Everything is screwed up. They've got the communications back up, but there's a chance everything could be traced. They haven't got the deflector shields up or defensive cannons. They haven't got the sublight engines fixed. They're out of coaxium. They are sitting ducks. It's what happens next will be key.
It's going to be really good. I mean, this episode was played really well for a starting episode. Now, normally when these seasons come back, you get a massive big episode. I know, Phil, when you asked me if it was just the one episode, because normally you do get like a 2-episode start.
Yeah.
And we only got the one. I know at Celebration, I believe they saw the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So that's already been seen what happens next. I mean, we don't know that yet. We haven't spoiled that for ourselves. We're going to see that as it comes out next week. But I really like how they start this, not with a big, showy episode. As I took it back, this felt very much like the scene that got, right, what we're going to do is we're going to do an Alien movie, and we're going to do it in that style. I love the stalking style of the robot, very much like the Xenomorph.
Oh,
the
yeah,
way
very much.
Shot, the way the images are shown, it was in the background, then it was disappeared. I absolutely adored that feel of it. I love the fact they went, right, we're going to do Alien with this droid capturing people in the dark. It was horror.
Yeah, kids won't understand it. They'll think it's cool.
Yeah,
people our age will go, that's a cool reference. I like that.
Exactly. Yeah, we take a direct take from Alien, whereas a kid would just take that as a sort of spooky thing that's happening with a droid. But we can see the adults can see who know more of pop culture can see the reference. Even the fact it got sucked out the airlock. It's just it's all Alien. But I thought it was done really well. I love that it was just as red. I love when you saw it from its own point of view as well. The smashed,
it was all cracked and all kind of
and that's what you saw. It was all the picture was broken up. I thought it was so well done and a really good take on how they were going to create a monster movie with what is essentially a ball, which was really clever of them. And I think you said about it earlier when you were talking about right through the episode that the shot when they find, sorry, I can't remember the female droid BB-8's name.
CB-23.
CB-23, when they went to find it and it was just the ball turned around and the head was missing and floating off as well, I thought was absolutely superb. It was one of those like, wow, okay, well done. That would be gruesome. That would be a horror film Alien level shot of a head floating away from a body.
Oh yeah, no. Put that in the context of the Alien franchise.
Yeah,
that's someone fighting someone, lifting them up, and then it's just neck.
Yeah, absolutely.
The head would be attached. They're bringing up, and they just literally just fall off and float away.
It was so well done.
So from an adult perspective, we know what that should be like.
Yeah.
From a kid's perspective, it's just like, oh no, what's happened to the droid? We're just going, that could be so much worse. But at the same time, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, it is executed really well.
References. I do wonder though if MB-13A floating away will be again another point later on. They'll find him floating, going, they were here. They're not far from here. This is where they want to go to.
I think it's going to lead into. They're not going to leave anything out. They've got one series now to round the series to where they want to do and finish it. So I don't think we're going to get any wasted time in this series. I hope not. Anyway, I don't think we've said it before when we've talked about Resistance and we've talked about Rebels filler episodes. I'm hoping we get less of that because overall,
of the constricted timeline, I don't think we'll get many filler. Not in this season, anyway. In season 1, you had the races. You have a couple of bits here and there. The pirates kind of gave it a cool little subplot that allowed then the first ones to come in. So even the filler episodes were leading up to something.
Absolutely, and you're right. I don't think we'll see as much fillers as we had previously. Like you've just said, it's not going to go there.
The one really good point I'll add into this particular episode: at the end of this episode, you have a droid floating in space, a black droid floating in space that doesn't sing. This is how it should
be. Nice callback, sir. Nice callback. That bloody droid. You made me mad internally there for a second. Honestly.
You know my feelings very well on that scene.
Just the worst. The love that droid still gets in that. It annoys me so much.
I can't stand it. I don't understand why people.
I tell you what I did like as well. I think we got a lot more of Tora as well. I think her character's now obviously now
Tam's gone.
Tam's gone. She'll fill in a lot more as the second lead on the Resistance side. Yeah. And I think we're going to get bigger adventures with them all. I think at some point we are going to get to Black Spire. From the trailer, it looked like that's where we're going to head at one point. Very much.
I think that will be after Dakar. I think when they find out Dakar's been abandoned and been destroyed by the First Order, they all head to Black Spire.
Yeah, I know you see that
one purely because, again, where the plot points are set, they've been told to go to Dakar, but by the time they get there, the First Order would have destroyed them. You'll have everyone fleeing to Crate anyway. So it's kind of this, where do we go from here point for the Resistance. We all know, of course, in Episode 8 they kind of escape from Crate and everything. We'll find out where they go in Episode 9. So this will, for me, will be the point of when it's the mid-season. It will be they have got to Dakar and find they're gone. They go that we have to now go to Black Spire, because from that point onwards, anything that happens with the Resistance and with the First Order will spoil what happens for Episode 9 in a way. We know it's a year between 8 and 9, but you can't really set up too much too soon, because that will ruin what is going to be their big franchise ending. You need to have it set very carefully. So I don't think we'll know until after Christmas, but I reckon the mid-season finale will be, we've got to Dakar finally, oh no, they're gone. Just like what happened with Hosni and Prime. It'll be like, oh crap, it's gone, what do we do next? And then like, okay, they've gone from here, what do we do now? Then they'll get the message from General Leia going, help? And then we'll see from there. I reckon that's where we'll have the mid-season from.
I do wonder if we'll get the message that came from Crate as well. I wonder if we'll get that Leia message coming out to people to say, this is where we are, help. And they will try and get there. So I'm wondering if we'll see places like, obviously we'll see Dakar. That's where they're headed. We're going to see the remnants of what was left of that base.
Well, the only thing is we don't know what the message was that was sent.
No, just a plea for help, I'm guessing. But yeah, we don't know the exact form that message took. But I'm also wondering if they get...
I'm just going to say one thing. I do wonder if, buried in the archives of Lucasfilm, there's a deleted scene from Episode 8 that has Carrie Fisher's recording of that message.
That'd be cool. Yeah, it'd be nice to actually hear that and what went out. What I was just about to say, I'm just wondering with timeline, obviously, we're just about to get the attack on Starkiller Base. I wonder if the Rebels will get a Dakar before the Resistance. They'll get there before the attack of the First Order at the start of Episode 8 and then be sent off on a different mission before.
They could be. I mean, when you get to Battlefront 2, which is set along the same timeline, you have Inferno Squadron come back and go, oh, Dakar's been destroyed. We actually have another mission for you. Go here.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's going to play into that plot point. I mean, you could end up with Inferno Squadron meeting up with the Resistance team, because the actual timelines meet up very well. And I know that Gina Gavankar would love to reprise her role as Arden Versio. You could have, I can't remember who plays Gideon, but again, you could have him come back. There's only many plot points you could have of the game, the TV show, and the film all meeting up in this wonderful kind of little moment here.
It would be nice to fill out, even if it's like 5 minutes of an episode, to fill that, like, we're all here, this spot, here's your individual missions, this is what we need you to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm biased at all, don't want the Inferno Squadron to return. No.
But I'm really interested for what's going to happen next. I think the first descriptions of the next couple episodes are up online if people want to see them, but I'm going to try and avoid those until the actual episodes comes out.
Yeah, I won't be reading the synopsis until after I've seen the episode.
And it's been a really good start to this series. I'm really happy with how it started, that it's not this big ways into the next story, like really push into it. It's all just about repairing the ship. They didn't move anywhere in this episode. They didn't go off to other planets. They didn't find a new base. So it's a really nice...
They need to get everything sorted. I reckon that we, for the next 2-3 episodes, with them getting everything back.
Just on the Colossus, hopefully not going anywhere, and just, having an adventure on there each week. If they then move to somewhere...
They've got to establish communications.
Yeah.
Which they've done. But they need to get communications then established with the Resistance. They need to get the propulsion system fixed, the defensive system fixed. And all that time needs to be very... Yeah, exactly. And all that time, they need to be very aware the First Order will find them.
Yeah.
It's not even an if, it's a when. And they know that. So it's then building up the First Order, how they're going to track them. So for the next few episodes, that's what I want it to be, is building up this boiling point of, they found us, we got to go. Can we leave? That's the question.
The whole season seems like it's going to come down to a Tam decision at the end of it, I'm guessing.
Agreed.
Very much going to fall on her shoulders of which way the series goes, whether they...
Yeah, I think I know how I want it to end, but it may not be the way it's going to end.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tam's obviously has been played now as she was the good character. She's been taken over to the First Order, and it's whether she sees the ways of the First Order and decides that's not where she wants to be, or if she stays firm and right with them. She sees the destruction of Starkiller Base as an attack on her people, basically like a terrorist attack blowing up their home.
I would quite like. I like the beginning, and I quite like the end to be they are caught and destroyed. I want this to be a negative ending for them. I want episode 9 to wrap up so much.
Oh,
just the ending of the Resistance crew.
I just don't. It's going to be. I mean, we're off topic now, but talking about episode 9, which we'll be covering way more as the next few months come up. We're talking the other day. We have like 5 regular shows on a Wednesday before we'll be seeing episode 9 altogether.
We've got something big planned for episode 9 for the ones of the first anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna be good times, but it's gonna be such a big wrap up, and it's hard to think now how they will finish this story in a movie. Just have it all done and finish, and that's the end. Full stop. You're done. Move on to other stories. This is the end of all these characters. Honestly, I don't know quite how they're going to fit it all in, and what could be. I'm guessing it's going to be just shy of 3 hours, the movie, but I just don't know how it's all going to work, and it blows my mind that it is. But yeah, Resistance will lead into that, and Resistance again finishing with this series as well. So we're going to be saying goodbye to a lot of these characters, and while this is a kid series, I don't think everyone will make it through the series. Not being that you'll see.
I want the ending to be no one makes it through.
I think with it being the series it is, I do think characters will survive, and they'll not be in the main story or the main plot point, but they'll be alive somewhere. I think we might lose a character or two, but nothing major. I mean, you'll lose Pyre, you'll lose.
No, I'm hoping we lose Kaz and Tam.
No, there's no way you lose Kaz and Tam. If you're right, I'll be mind blown, but I just can't see them.
I think it'd be a great thing in terms of it would be this episode 9 is your ending. There's no happy ending for anyone until you get to that point. I know it's kind of I say this way of looking at it, I guess, but when it came to Rebels, we knew they couldn't win. Because
absolutely,
one had to be that first victory. They had a small one, but they couldn't have the first major victory until
it was just a victory on Lothal. That was all it was. It wasn't.
And I want this to be the same.
Oh, Phil, look at you. This is taking in a path I wasn't expecting. To lose Kaz and Tam? No, I can't see it. But
you have to lose one or the other. You have to lose one or the other.
I think that might be more the point. I think we might, if we lost anybody, I would say Tam over Kaz.
No, we lose Kaz. Tam comes back to the Resistance and helps them hunt them down, helps them end it.
And how many episodes? Do we know how many episodes we've got in this series?
We haven't
been told, have we, how many episodes we're getting? I would guess 16 or 17, probably around that.
Yeah,
maybe not a full season.
Yeah. It might be. I reckon it might even be 14.
If it's that, then that's going to be. Because we'll get to this. You're right. We'll get the midpoint around about the time for the Rise of Skywalker to come out. So it's going to be really interesting times, and especially once we've seen the close of that.
We are in the second week of October.
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker comes out the second week or third week of December.
Third week of December, yeah.
Yeah. We have 9 weeks until its release. So, bearing that in mind, if you have a 2-week break before episode 9 to build up, then we're looking at 7 episodes.
Yeah.
So if you look between now and then, so you're talking maybe 7 episodes. So 6 episodes from now until then. So 7 episodes before, 7 episodes afterwards, 14 total, with a probably make it 16 with a double bill finish. So 16 could be
they're not finishing out that way. Yeah. It's going to be good times. Now, as I say, this series was one that, I mean, you were right in from the start. It grew on me over the first series to where I was really excited. And to say I've watched the first one like 3 times this episode just before we came on. It came live. I was able to watch it on Sunday night, and I've watched it a couple of times through. And normally I would have skipped through in the first series, probably just gone, and I was quite intent on watching this again. I really wanted to watch for some of the stuff I hadn't seen the first run through, and it's been a really, really good start. I'm really looking forward to us sitting down.
Solid start. That's what I like.
Yeah.
It's not a big, flashy, like, season 2 of Rebels starts with Siege of Lothal, which for me is my favorite season anyway. Rebels season 2. I adore it, and the Siege of Lothal with Vader and everything is just perfect. But it's this big, brash, showy. This is a new cartoon. This is Disney establishing their era. We have now taken the leap from a kid show into this is a show.
Yeah.
This more feels like this is a solid beginning. But it picks up from the end of season 1 in the same style that episode 8 picks up from episode 7. But less disappointing when the first time you watch it.
I'm Groot. I love Last Jedi.
I love it. I'm biased for reasons I won't say on camera, but no, I love The Last Jedi. We've had this discussion on air, off air for the past nearly 2 years now. And that's the point. We've had no Star Wars film for a year and a half. We're building up. We want episode 9, but we've had discussions over The Last Jedi for the last year and a half. I'm sick and tired of the hate now. It's just let it be. Watch episode 9, enjoy it from there. But no, this for me feels like a very solid. We finished season 1. This is season 2. But if you watch it back to back, you can't tell where it finishes. This is just a nice, solid opening. I think going forward, it just feels like just a big up into the next bit, and I think it's going to continue onwards. And I look forward to seeing what happens next episode. But again, this is the reason why we thought we would do this show, not only because we actually was to give you guys more content anyway, but because we have to get over 40 minutes on one episode. And we got a little bit frustrated with how, when we did this with our main show, this would make a 2 hour, 2.5 hour main show. We couldn't quite, the three of us, we have our own commitments, we have lives. We can't always get everything together. So doing the main show, again, I'd have to then go through all the news. Then we'd have the breakdown. Star Wars this week. Oh, I'm looking forward to that more than I've looked forward to it in a long time. In fact, I haven't even done the post on social media. I need to get that done. Please, everyone, look out for that and look out for our show this coming Wednesday. But yeah, that's why I want to give you a full breakdown of each episode. We can go to the nuances for as long as we like. And we don't have George chiming in going, I haven't watched it, so I have nothing to give.
No, as I said, definitely this was an idea that we wanted to bring out. Like Phil said, more content was a thing. It's nice to take these out separately from the episodes. We're going to have this. When Mandalorian hits, we'll have a separate show for Mandalorian. Clone Wars, when that comes out in February, we'll start doing a show for Clone Wars as well. As the episodes come out, we'll do a new episode where we'll talk through the whole episode. It won't be part of our main show at all. We'll just mention probably that was out, but that'll be it. There'll be no more talk about it. And we'll have these whole separate spaces to talk about the shows, which is something I've wanted to do for a while as well. It's nice to get a full breakdown and be able to go through everything until we've talked out everything we want to about the episode, which has been really good, and really good to start with our first one today.
Indeed. So with that all being said, thank you so much for watching the show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us at One of the Force, the Stars Podcast, or at the Force Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as did Kaz, and as did Boba Fett as well in the past. Links for t-shirts and things to be found in the description below at Teespring. You can find the video of this later on YouTube, or you can find the audio on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and Podbean. We've been One of the Force. May the Force always be with you. Good night.